What's up everyone and welcome back to Reload Reacts. My name is Trey and today we are going to look through r/MaliciousCompliance, the subreddit for those who are actually technically following all of their given directions, but not the spirit of what they actually mean. This first post is by The Romper. Was told to actually read the policy, so I did. I work for an office and we have an 8-week busy season with mandatory overtime, 12 to 14 hours a day. During this time, the company agrees to reimburse us for the dinner, up to $13 a meal. We just have to submit a claim with our receipts at the end of the busy season. Food options around my work aren't great, so I usually brought my dinner from home. But sometimes I was too tired to cook after a long day, so out of the 8 weeks, I purchased maybe 10 meals. 3 of those meals I spent $13.50, going 50 cents over the limit. This resulted in a whopping $1.50 overage, which my manager said it was no big deal and that I could include on my expense claim. He signed off on it and everything. A few days after I submitted my report, head office emailed me saying they rejected my expense claim and then I could resubmit after I removed the $1.50 overage. I wrote back saying my manager was fine with the $1.50 overage and even signed off on it, and they responded by telling me that they do not allow overages under any circumstances, that the $1.50 must be removed or they wouldn't approve any of my meal expenses. They ended their email with the advice that I should actually read the company policy next time. Fine, they were right and I was wrong, so I decided to read the policy very thoroughly before redoing my expense claim. Yes, the policy clearly stated a $13 maximum on purchased meals. Oh, and what's this? The policy also allows a $10 per diem for meals you bring home? I very happily removed the $1.50 overage and added an additional $300 for the 30 meals I brought from home. I should read the company policy more often. Edit. Some of you are asking if I got paid the $300 and the answer is yes. Many are suggesting the person was sincerely trying to help me out, but I'm not 100% sure because they were so snippy in their email. Also, when we were emailed the meal policy at the beginning of the busy season, there was no mention of the per diem, and no one else in my department knew about it. Either way, I made sure to thank them just in case they were being sincere, and I was too jaded to see it. The top comment reads, I do the employee reimbursement at my company and I would be gleeful if someone came back with this. In my experience, if I have to make someone edit their report, it's because I literally cannot process the report through the system, or if I will personally get in trouble for pushing something through. Good on you for using your resources. This next post is by Taipan821. Why did you schedule this call on my off hours? Been reading other stories of virtual meeting shenanigans, thought I would add my own. Day off, attending a hazard reduction burn, so out in the bush with a fire truck, suited up and running around like a happy pyromaniac. I get a phone call from work, I answer and get told I must be present for a virtual meeting scheduled for 10 minutes time for a training on a system I already know, as I had been using it for the past 6 months at a venue. I remind them that it is my day off and my manager speaks with the tone of do it or you're fired. Alrighty then. First strike. Manager is late to their own meeting. The meeting eventually starts and I have connected by my phone and Bluetooth earphones. My camera and mic are off because of the noise. The other firefighters are having a chuckle at my expense. Then my manager insists I turn my camera and microphone on, otherwise they will mark me as absent. Alrighty then. I stand in a spot where the fire will roar up behind me, somewhat safely, and turn my phone camera and microphone on. The rest of the firefighters go nuts with the radio chatter as the people in the virtual meeting see yours truly, masked up, full ensemble with the noise of fire roaring up behind him, the sound of the pump and panicking radio chatter. I then end the call. Manager then begins to frantically ring as she thinks she has just seen one of her better team members go up in flames. They never scheduled training on my off days after that, jumped ship to a competitor 2 months later. This next post is by Lung Bong. Automated my useless boss out of her job. This happened a few years ago. I was a data and reporting analyst and did all of the ad hoc reports for the company. My boss, we'll call her Kerry, Was he useless? She was one of those people that was always late, left early, and took days off at short notice. The only thing of value she did was all the regular reports, sales, revenue, etc. We suspected she got away with it because she was having an affair with her boss. We'll call him Stuart. Our CEO was a fairly decent bloke. He'd look for ways to cut costs and would regularly pay bonuses for the best cost-saving initiatives. Kerry was very keen to submit ideas and encouraged us to all automate our tasks so she could try and take the credit for the savings. On one of her Skive days, which coincidentally Stuart was sick as well, the CEO was desperate for the sales report my boss does. I said I'd give it a look and see if I could get it done. Normally, she'd spend 2 to 3 days doing it each week, but the CEO wanted it that afternoon. A quick inspection of the data showed it would be quite easily automated, so I knocked up the necessary script and got it over to the CEO, who was super impressed that not only had I got it done in a couple of hours, but also that it could be updated whenever he needed it. He asked if I could also look at the revenue, churn, and a couple of other reports. Over that afternoon, I automated everything my boss did. Both Kerry and Stuart were back in the next day, but were immediately summoned to the CEO's office before being suspended and sent home. Turns out, the CEO knew they were having an affair, and all the times they were sick or late or had to leave early was so they could sneak off and have fun with one another. He'd not done anything about it because of how important these reports were. Now they were automated, he was able to get them suspended and later fired for gross misconduct for all the time they'd taken off. I also got a nice bonus out of it. This next post is by First Contribution 236. HOA tried to punish us, told us to stop them if we can. Malicious compliance cost them 16% of the annual HOA income, and the cameras are still installed today. We installed cameras in the front of our home that were looking at our vehicles. Part of the camera angles did overlook parts of the first 2 neighbours' properties, one backyard and one side yard. The cameras were battery operated and had a function where you could grey out areas that you didn't want to film. When motion occurred in the greyed out areas, the cameras would not be activated to film. The neighbours' entire properties and several bushes on our property were greyed out. We did this when installing them. One of the neighbours was a friend, and had no issues with this whatsoever. We showed her the camera angle, and she said she didn't care whether or not we greyed out that area. We still left it greyed out over battery life concerns. The other's name was Karen. Not really, but we all know why I chose that name. Karen was on the HOA board and, as you can imagine, we didn't get along with Karen or the HOA board. We told Karen about the camera and showed her the greyed out areas at the same time that we told our friendly neighbour about it. It was simply an FYI conversation. We are not on friendly terms, not an asking permission conversation. She told us to take the cameras down immediately or we would regret it. About a week after we hung the camera up, we got a notice from our HOA that we were violating the bylaws. The bylaw in question? A nuisance to your neighbours bylaw. There wasn't a specific bylaw preventing placement of cameras, so this is all they could find to try and punish us. We responded with a letter detailing how we were not violating any bylaws or laws in general and asked them to cease and desist. We all know how these stories go though. They did not cease and they did not desist. Their first response: the HOA has the right to enforce these bylaws. Try to stop us if you think you can. These type of responses were unfortunately quite common from this board. We entered this battle with one goal in mind: to cost them as much money and time as possible. The HOA hired a lawyer specifically to fight us. To my knowledge, this has not happened to any other residents. In the following 4 months, we ended up costing the HOA over $4,000 in lawyer fees fighting this battle. For reference, the entire HOA income was around $25,000 per year. When it came time for our official HOA hearing over the matter, we had successfully postponed it, thanks to an attorney friend, 3 separate times. There were over 100 back and forth emails with the HOA attorney and ourselves. Each one of those emails was a 15-minute expense for the HOA, and I was happy to follow up with a follow-up question with another follow-up question if it meant the HOA attorney was going to keep billing them. Did I say follow up enough times? We didn't actually want to take this battle to court, so we ended up removing the cameras the day of the hearing to prevent being fined, even if the fine wouldn't hold up in court. The HOA decided in the hearing that we were guilty, surprise surprise, of violating the bylaw. They couldn't fine us, as the bylaws don't allow a fine until after a hearing has been held and the cameras were already removed. In the end, the punishment was a sternly written piece of paper on the attorney's letterhead, delivered via certified mail, that stated that we were not allowed to place a camera on our home that had the potential to invade a neighbour's privacy. Keep in mind, the letter specifically stated that the camera could not be placed on our home. We left the cameras off of the home for about 4 months, until the annual HOA meeting. You should have seen the look on the HOA board's faces when I asked them to explain the $4,000 line item for attorney fees that simply stated title searches, attorney fees. The board actually tried to hide the fact that they spent $4,000 trying to fight us over a couple of cameras by putting the fees in as title searches. Needless to say, that meeting did not go well for them. About half of them lost their positions on the board. The other half, including Karen unfortunately, remained on the board. About a week after the annual meeting, we installed new cameras, facing the same direction as the prior cameras, only this time we installed a post in the ground and mounted the cameras to that post. The admonishment we received after the hearing specifically stated that we were not allowed to install cameras on our home, and said nothing about putting them on a post. They did send a letter to try to tell us to remove the cameras, but a sternly worded response indicating that we were prepared to fight them actually worked this time around. I guess they didn't want to spend another $4,000 fighting us. We didn't receive any follow-up responses, and the camera on the post are still installed to this day, over 2 years and running strong. This next post is by a deleted user. I got fired and cost the store approximately $30,000. I was working a second job at our local small grocery and butcher shop. Few nights a week to pay for my kids' activities. I was hired as a cashier. The person that did the end of the day butcher shop cleanup / sanitizing quit, so instead of hiring someone for cleanup, the owners decided that the cashiers could just do it between customers. The owner sat at their office watching TV and effing around. When a customer came in, doorbell would ring. They would buzz the phone in the butcher area for the cashier to come check them out. When I came in for my shift at 6 PM and was told about the new setup, I told them no. I was not hired to clean up the butcher area. I was hired to run the register and stock shelves. The owner then said I would clean the butcher shop or I would consider myself fired, and they walked away. I said fine. I grabbed my things and left. Apparently, the owner thought I had gave in and was doing the cleaning. So they buzzed the butcher area when the customers came out for about 2 hours before someone told them no one was coming to check them out. The store's liquor area, cigarettes and scratches got emptied out. It was 7:30 and I got a screaming phone call from the owner about how he was calling the police and I was going to get arrested. Yeah, right. Owner did call the police. The owner stated he wanted me arrested as an accomplice to the thefts because I had left. Cops asked me to come to the store, which I did, and I explained that the owner had fired me. So I went home and the CCTV would prove that fact. The tape was reviewed and plain as day, the owner said I was fired. I estimate they lost about $30,000. The top comment reads, "That's some high level managing there. He tried to make you the fall guy for his mess up. Hey boss man, pay attention to your workers." This next post is by Garfish Whoosh. Don't want to give me a new contract? Fine, I'll stick to the terms of the contract I do have. So I used to work for a large retailer in the UK. I worked there for 12 years in total and ended up as a manager. When you want to become a manager, they make you fly through 1,000 hoops, do a whole bunch of training, and do the job for 6 months without any extra pay. I did all of this and was finally signed off as a manager. After I was officially given a job, I got my pay rise but was never given a new contract. I asked multiple times for a new contract and was fobbed off each time. Fast forward about 9 months and another large retailer started hiring lots of managers and was poaching a whole bunch of staff. I applied for one of these jobs as they were offering €8,000 more than I was currently on, but for the same job. I got the job and went to hand in my notice. Managers have to give 4 weeks notice, whereas general assistants only have to give a week. So I decided that I would follow the exact terms of my contract and provide them with a week's notice rather than the 4 weeks they wanted. Suffice to say that they were not happy with that, and I got called into an office to ask why I only had given 1 week's notice. I explained that per the terms of my last contract that I signed with them, that is all I was required to give. They were really not happy, but there wasn't really anything that they could do about it. The top comment reads, "Haha, my brother did this exact thing. They trained him up, gave him the extra euro, but he never redid his contract, so he never got the other benefits, mostly mileage and medical. His notice period didn't change from 2 weeks to 8 weeks, so when he handed in his notice, a year and a half later for unrelated reasons, they said it was 8 weeks. He asked them to show him that in his contract, and they all went quiet." This next post is by Wibbly Wobbly. A bar near me found a hilarious loophole to get around noise complaints and keep hosting live music. A bar in my town used to host live bands all the time, until one of the neighbours complained about the noise. It turns out the zoning rules didn't allow them to have live music and they almost got shut down. The bar owner read over, said zoning rules and notices that the wording forbade them to have live music indoors, but they could have it outdoors. So they moved the stage to the patio section, where it would be even louder for the neighbours, and still be legal. They still have live music sometimes, but not nearly as often as they used to. Don't want to push their luck, I guess. And I think that's going to be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stories in r/MaliciousCompliance. Sorry that this one was a little bit shorter, but there will be more content coming out today to make up for it. Let me know what you'd like to listen to next in the comment section below, and also hit that subscribe button because I post new Reddit content every single day. My name is Trey, this was Reload Reacts, and I will see you in the next video.